Oh, and there's ice everywhere. I know. I didn't want to. Yeah.
Some beautiful shots, man.
This is where they should be.
Right
The
here?
62 Boylston Street. Or 60. But if you keep up there is where we're gonna be.
Actually? Oh, oh hell no, bro.
That's where they do all their Egyptian voodoo. This is 192.
Don't tell me, bro.
I think that. You said Matthew what? We'll just wait until you get here. Okay, that works.
You're not even here.
Not yet.
How long? How long until you get to it?
In the small,
Yeah.
so we got a lot of boxes in there, little books crammed, and we wash our clothes.
Okay.
So we set up a system where we hang our clothes in there. So don't be surprised you see like some, clothes hanging and stuff.
Okay. Why do you guys hand wash your clothes?
Well, we don't do the washer, we use it, but
You'll notice even a sleeping man, he can be awoken whenever you like yell. But if you just like have some smells or like, obviously he's not seeing anything, but the sense of hearing is like always active even in like a sleeping state. So similarly, spiritually we're like sleeping. And then whenever we chant this mantra, it awakens our Krishna consciousness, our God consciousness. So everybody here has like a name. Your name is Robbie? Your name?
I'm done.
Dylan?
Yeah.
So your name, Robbie, is actually the name of this body that you have in right now. Before you were born, do you know what your name was? How old are you?
No, yeah, 20.
20.
I just turned.
You
Actually, I
just
turned
turned
20
20?
on the day that I met y'all.
oh, why didn't you say anything?
Because I forgot. I was so captured.
so cool. You forgot.
So
Yeah, I forgot.
what was your name 21 years ago?
21 years. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't
So
tell
what
you.
was your name? Like 22 years.
You're talking about the vicinity name, my soul.
Exactly. We're talking. So you are different than your body. Your soul is different from your body. So you say, I'm Ravi, I'm Dylan, I'm MAHTZIYA, I'm Abhimanyu. But actually, this name is only, it's a temporary and relative thing, right? It's relative to the situation that we're in right now, this body that you're in right now. The name of Krishna is transcendental because Krishna, he doesn't take birth like we take birth. He doesn't die like we die. His body is eternal and spiritual and full of knowledge and full of bliss, whereas our body is material, full of ignorance, full of suffering. We're born, we die, we have diseases. Krishna's not like that. So, and Krishna is also, because he's on the spiritual platform, he's absolute. Where that means that his body and his name are the same. Him and his name are one and the same. It's like if you're thirsty and you think, oh, I really want some water right now. You can't just say water, 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 and then you're not thirsty anymore, right? Because water and the name water is different. But with Krishna, Krishna and himself are the same. So God and his name are the same. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. You guys grew up Christian or no? Probably not you.
I grew up Buddhist.
Buddhist.
Awesome.
They kind of grew up in like Christian
Yeah,
background.
yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody knows this verse. What does that actually mean? What does the name of God actually mean? What is the power of the name of God? God is unlimited. He's all-knowing. He's all-powerful. He's all-pervading. He's everything in one sense, you know? So how can God be limited to just 2 syllables? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's the inconceivable name of God. And it's by the mercy of God that he manifests himself in the form of his name. So in different ages, actually, can you check it? Just like keep an eye. In different ages, there's different processes of like spiritual realization, making spiritual progress. There's like ages where like meditation, sitting like this, being very focused for like thousands of years at a time. That's how you make spiritual advancement. There's performing sacrifices, worshiping the deities in the temple. These are different prescribed duties for mankind according to the age. But in this specific age, Kali Yuga, there's a verse in the Upanishads, Hare Nam, Aiva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyatha. So Hare Nam, Hari Nam, the name of Krishna, is the only way to make spiritual advancement in Kali Yuga. Name of Krishna means any name of God. So you have Allah, even Buddha can be considered a name of God actually. Unlimited, Jehovah, Yahweh, so many names of God are there. And by chanting the names of God, we can actually become God conscious. We can deliver our minds with the mantra. And so we're always thinking about so many different things, the names of so many different things, the name of that girl, the name of that drug. We're meditating on all of these things. Chanting Hare Krishna forces our mind to focus on things that actually matter. What actually matters, Krishna. And you can say, okay, what's the whole meaning of this? How does this give our life purpose? You know, we're searching for happiness in so many different ways. What is it, you know, how is this any different? Just mindlessly chanting some sound. You can go on, and you probably had experience where every single thing that you try to get some happiness out of, it ultimately ends in like frustration, right? You get into it for a little while, you know, it's going good, you get some kind of like feeling from it. After some time, the feeling kind of wears off, it gets a little stale, it's not so interesting anymore. I don't know, did you used to play sports or like video games or things like that? Yeah, it's fun for some time, but it's not really like satisfying your soul. After being disappointed in these types of things over and over again, an intelligent person comes to the platform of understanding that real happiness comes through service. So you see like some of the most spiritually advanced people, the spiritual leaders of society, they're more focused on serving humanity, serving their nation, serving their families, like this, you know. This is a higher realization than just simply serving myself, serving my senses. How can I eat as much as I can, you know, like smell nice things, whatever. So actually, serving is the nature of the soul. We can't avoid this act of service. Sometimes we're serving our senses, sometimes we're serving our family, sometimes we're serving our country, like military man or something like that. Sometimes we're serving our professors, stuff like that. We can't avoid this act of service. But the proper disposal of this propensity to serve is whenever we serve Krishna, whenever we serve God. A mother serves her child and very selflessly. She's not interested in anything in return. She's just serving her child, and she gets some kind of happiness from this. But this is still a material relationship. That child is only the child of that mother because the body of that child was born from the body of that mother. That's their relationship. There's not actually a real spiritual relationship there. Our service to Krishna is something which is spiritual. It's something which is eternal. It's something which is transcendental to our body. You know, first thing you asked when you came in, oh, so what's your ethnicity? We think this is like a very important thing, and this actually is what creates borderlines, and it's what creates wars, and it's what creates so many divisions in society. Of course, there's also a lot in modern times just to like kind of embrace diversity, things like this, but still we're seeing each other on the bodily concept of life. We're seeing, okay, your body is from this part of the world, your body is from that, and we're making distinctions like that. But actually, the higher realization is that we're all eternal living beings who are servants of Krishna. This is the essence of life. Actually, each and every living being is a servant of Krishna. not just human beings. The animals, the insects, the birds, the trees, the fish, all the living beings are actually souls, spiritual sparks, who are part and parcel of Krishna. God is everything. The living entities are like little small fragments of that all-pervading God. And those little small fragments are meant to serve the whole. So it's like whenever you're watering a tree, if you want, let's say you just want to serve your family, you just care about your family, you don't care about anybody else. You can, just like when you have a tree and you just want to have one fruit on one branch, that's all you care about. I just want one fruit on one branch. I don't care about the other branches. You can try to water that one branch, but it won't work, right? So the actual way of watering the tree is watering the roots, right? And then naturally, whenever you water the roots, then your branch is served, the other branches are served, the whole tree is actually served. So similarly, the serving propensity, if you want to serve your family, if you want to even serve yourself or your girlfriend or whoever, the real way to actually serve is by serving Krishna, who is like the root of everything. He's the all-pervading root of everything. It's God, serving God. So the best way to serve God in this modern age that we're living in right now is by chanting His holy names. And it's just like if you go to the doctor and he gives a prescription, you can actually find several different medicines which kind of accomplish the same goal. But there's generally one medicine which is the most powerful, which is the best for your exact condition, and then he'll give you a prescription for that medicine. So like I said, you can chant any name of God, but this 32-syllable mantra is known as the Maha Mantra, the greatest mantra. And this is the specific prescription for the conditioned souls in this age of Kali, which we're living in right now, to deliver the mind, to reawaken our spiritual nature. So there's many different names of God, like I said, but this combination of these names of God are so nice, so sublime, that God Himself incarnated in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya, you can try to remember this name, Chaitanya. He's the golden avatar of Krishna Himself, and He showed us that His name is so nice that He Himself wanted to come to chant His own name. So He demonstrated this. Of course, this is a whole different topic. But He inaugurated the Sankirtan movement, which started in West Bengal in India a little over 580 years ago. And it's the movement which is trying to spread the chanting of this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra all over the world. For several centuries, this was going on in India, and then only in the past like 60, 75 years has this been introduced into the Western world. And the ancient scriptures of India foresee that in this age of quarrel, this iron age, this dark age which we're living in, there's a 10,000 year period which is said to be like a spiritual golden age. And that started at the appearance of Chaitanya. So after Chaitanya started spreading this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's foreseen that the whole world, their consciousness will be uplifted by the chanting of this Hare Krishna.
Who is Chaitanya?
Chaitanya is
What does he look like?
So in the middle here, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
In the middle?
Yeah, and this is like his associates.
Mm-hmm.
So together they're known as the Panchatattva, the five ultimate absolute truth. Together they form the essence of pure love of God. And this is God Himself who has incarnated with the express purpose of teaching His devotees how to serve Himself, actually. He was in the disguise of a devotee. Many people didn't understand that it was actually God, but His intimate associates, like these four here, they actually knew that this was Krishna, and they revealed that through different writings. Some of our books, it describes that this is actually Krishna incarnated.
And when did He come?
This was a little over 580 years ago, 586 years ago. So not very long ago. It's not something we're taught in school, that God was on this planet only 586 years ago.
I was taught like 3 weeks ago that Jesus came back as a Korean man.
Hey,
So, there's a lot of
you never
a lot of
know.
surprises are going on.
The indications which we can determine whether or not God has incarnated or not are written in the Vedic literatures. In the Vedic literatures, like if you look behind you, you see this, open this cabinet. Yeah. So we have many books. That big book on the left, it says Srimad Bhagavatam.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually just one volume of a really big set.
That's one?
It's just
That's
one
the
volume.
size of the Bible.
Yeah, but the whole thing is actually much bigger. That's just the first part.
Okay.
That whole text suffer in this way. So then you'll make more money and then you'll get a beautiful girlfriend. That's what they're going to.
And that's all temporary.
That's not actually favorable for our spiritual life. Therefore, and you know, in some cases, like I don't know if it actually says it in the Bible or if the Christians just kind of came up with this. Sometimes we should say no, forget about all that nonsense.
Because
don't
they
go to
say-
this
they
college." So ultimately, we have to take responsibility for these things.
And that's the problem why people maybe blame the devil.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
real
the devil made me do it. It's like, no, you have to take some responsibility. That's where karma comes into play. You have to take responsibility. You have to understand that all of your activities, they lead to reactions. If you're blaming somebody, it's like the black folks blaming the white folks because of all the years of oppression. It might be there, but they're neglecting to see that according to their own karma, they had to go through all of that. Similarly, all those white folks, they'll also have to go through that because they oppressed the black folks. You know, it's just like that. Ultimately, you have to take some responsibility. Understand that I'm suffering because of my own misdeeds. I'm suffering ultimately because of my perverted material desires. That's why I'm suffering. It's not somebody's forcing me.
That's like what Buddha says, right? Desire is why you suffer.
The material desire is why you suffer. To try to cancel out all desire is not possible. It's against the principle of existence. The very nature of the soul means that we're always existing, and just to exist, that means that there's some desire. Some desire is there. To say that I don't want to desire anything is itself a desire, right? So you can't get out of this cycle actually. If you just want to cancel out everything and become nothing, that's a desire. I want to become nothing. You still have that desire. That's where the Buddhist that gets really, really.
Oh, dude, we invited some dude who subscribes to the Buddhist philosophy. He came here yesterday, and well, the Buddhist philosophy basically puts you in a position where you don't have any discrimination, because their philosophy is you can say whether it's this or this, and you can't say whether it's this or this, but you can't say neither whether it is this or that.
It's just like a puzzle, bro.
It's just mental speculation. It's actually just a huge waste of time, and you just end up going in circles in your mind. You can't actually stop acting at all. Even if you just sit in one place and you just close your eyes, you don't talk, you just completely silent. You gotta keep breathing. Your heart keeps beating. This is still karma. You're still doing karma. There's people they get a broom and they sweep whenever they walk in the streets so that they don't step on any insects when they're walking, because whenever whenever you kill another living entity, you get karma.
They have the
for that.
swastika too, right? In their symbol.
That's called a hamsa. Yeah, there's a swastika there. So they know, they understand you get karma whenever you kill other living entities, so let's sweep like that. But then they don't know that whenever you inhale, you also kill so many different bacteria. So then they wear a little mask like that, but actually whenever you just clap your hand, whenever you cook,
it's impossible, yeah.
whenever you cook, you're killing so many different things. You can't actually avoid karma. The Buddhists, the Jains, they're all trying to cancel out this karma. You can't cancel out karma. You have to Krishnaize it. You have to spiritualize it. Our propensity to act is always going to be there. So instead of acting like a nonsense, instead of acting in some material way, act for Krishna's benefit.
And therefore in Bhagavad Gita he says, Sarva dhanaman prityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masura. He says, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
It sounds like Jesus. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys all speak Sanskrit? Or you just memorize it?
Yeah, we memorize different shlokas.
Learn the meanings of them.
So can you read it in Sanskrit or you read it in English?
Here, I'll show you what our books are like.
Because you're speaking crazy fast, like it's fluent.
These are very common verses which kind of help to explain our philosophy. This thing has over 18,000 verses. All of them have been translated from the original Sanskrit. So this is Devanagari. It's like the alphabet that they use to write Sanskrit, and then this is a transliterated form in Roman transliteration. Katam vayam na tachirushite tvayi prasanna drishtya prita prashoshanam. So these are different verses. This is the word for word meanings of all the different words. This is a translation, and then this is a commentary. So there's over 18,000 of those in this Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we also have so many other books which are translated in the same way. But yeah, you can learn to read these. You can learn how to read Devanagari. You might have seen Hindi. Hindi is in the same alphabet. So people that speak Hindi, they can already read this. It's not so special to read this.
That's
but
crazy.
To understand it is very special.
It makes me wonder why the Bible is not translated like this.
Yeah.
You know, they don't provide the original
The
translation.
Bible
but this
has
one
been
is.
changed. If you didn't know that now, then let it be known. The Bible is
Oh, yeah,
not,
I figured- I
is not
figured.
what the
It's
Bible
been a while, right?
was. I mean, of course, there wasn't a Bible whenever Jesus was here. Jesus never talked about the Bible because the Bible wasn't a thing.
Nor did he talk
The
about
old
Christianity.
The Old Testament is a few chapters of the Torah, you know. So they ascribed that, they got that, they made a Bible. The disciples of Jesus, some of the followers of Jesus, all the way up to 500, many years after Jesus even left, or 500 years after, they were still making edits to what is now known as the Bible.
Yeah.
And they were taking some things out, adding some things, and who made all these decisions? Someone king, ultimately. I mean, it depends on which translation and which version of the Bible. King James, he doesn't have any qualification to determine what is the word of God, but he's the one determining, okay, this is in the Bible, this is not in the Bible. Package it up, put it in a nice, frame, whatever. That's the Bible today. There's a lot of good things in it. We don't criticize the Bible so much. More than that, we criticize the people who claim to be following the Bible, but are not actually following the Bible.
The Bible criticizes those people too.
Right. Right. Very simple thing which we are highly critical of Christians is the first commandment. You know the first commandment?
Don't steal.
No.
Don't kill.
Thou shalt not kill.
That's close.
And just look at what the Christians are doing. They're maintaining so many slaughterhouses. On their lunch break, they go to Five Guys and they have a nice cheeseburger.
So you guys don't eat no
Completely vegetarian.
vegetarian, but you kill vegetable or that isn't? It's something different.
Yes. Yeah. And this argument is made, but vegetables also have to die. First of all, not always. Fruits and vegetables, they grow on a plant, and you don't have to kill the plant in order to get the fruits and the vegetables. There are some things which the plant has to fully die in order for you to eat it, that's there. But whenever these things are offered to Krishna, the karma is eradicated. So we're not just vegetarian just for the sake of being vegetarian. If being vegetarian was a spiritual thing, then all the monkeys and the elephants and the whatever, they would also be spiritually advanced. Being vegetarian is not spiritual, actually.
And also any of the stuff that we offer to God, it becomes spiritualized. So also that plant that we killed actually gets spiritual value. It takes on the human form of life.
Plus, most of the greens anyway are already dead. Like it turned brown and stuff. It's already
Yeah.
The point is we're not vegetarian just for the sake of being vegetarian. We're vegetarian because Krishna in the scriptures says, offer me vegetarian foodstuffs. He explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhadram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhaktya pray. He explains, offer me some water, some fruit, some flowers, like this. And Krishna, he's known to enjoy milk products. In the spiritual world, he's a cowherd boy. He's a little cowboy. He's taking care of cows and milking cows and drinking milk and stealing butter and all that. You can read all these stories there. So we offer Krishna what he likes. Krishna likes vegetarian food. We offer Krishna vegetarian food, and then we take that as prasadam. It's like the remnants of food which has been offered to Krishna. Krishna never asked for animal food. And practically we can see that animals, they have a more developed level of consciousness. The act of killing an animal is like something very disturbing, and I have a feeling that most of the people which are just eating meat every single day, if they had to actually go and kill that animal, there would be way more vegetarians in this world, because it's just such a horrible thing. Anybody that's seen it or has thought about it to any extent, it's just horrible.
So how about my family where they have chickens? Eating chicken eggs, is that okay?
No, that's also
because
non-vegetarian, because it has the potential for life.
That's true. Even if it's not fertilized.
Yeah, it has the potential for life, and it's made of that very. It's called tamo guna. It's the mode of ignorance. There's different modes which are governing material nature. Things which are made of flesh and blood and things like this, they're very low vibration. And you are what you eat, actually. So whenever we're eating these very low vibration things, then we operate on a very low vibration. And the consciousness of the animals which we're eating actually enters our own consciousness. And those animals which are dying in a state of fear, that also enters, and we become so anxious, and we become so in a state of fear, actually, whenever we're eating a lot of meat, killing a lot of animals. And you can make the argument, it's actually healthier to eat like this. How do you get enough protein and this and that? But actually, vegetarian diet is completely sufficient. And there's no need to eat meat. There's literally no nutritional need to eat meat.
Because the meat eats the vegetables anyways.
Right. The protein
Yeah.
comes from plants anyways.
Is there
So
anything-
that poses the question, if you don't need to do it, then why are you doing it? The only answer to that question is because I like to taste it. Because it tastes good. Because I like it. That's animal consciousness. If you're just only doing things just because you like it and you don't have any sense of discrimination, there's no higher purpose, there's no philosophy behind it. Whatever feels good, do it.
They've also
That's their
neglected the
philosophy.
fact that they're also living entities. They're just spiritual souls as well.
The Christians have
Yeah.
done a great job of completely denying that only humans have a soul. Animals don't have a soul. Those same Christians, they maintain they have dogs and cats and they have fish and all these different pets. If you go and then you just like, slit the throat of their dog, they'll freak out. Meanwhile,
Dude, yeah.
they go
That
and
would
they
be
have
crazy.
Bro,
a,
you'll
have
be
a
in jail.
hamburger. Why can you kill the cow but you can't kill the dog? Same thing. What's the point? It's because they know deep down.
They say that we can think about God and the animal can't. In one sense, like they say, like the animal can't think very deeply about anything, but actually the baby itself, you can say a baby in an animal, it's on the same level. A baby can't think or do anything, can't defend itself. So
An autistic person or like someone with some disabilities.
What
They're
about
not-
disabilities? When you're born with disabilities, what is that? Is that just a product of how you're as karma?
yeah.
It's all very complicated. But yeah,
They don't know that the symptom of the soul is consciousness.
there's very important things which anybody who wants to make spiritual advancement, they have to consider. Anybody that's eating meat, automatically they're not going to make spiritual advancement. 100%. 100%. Especially in this day and age, there's no need for it whatsoever. You can pose an argument in the time of Jesus, because there's this story of Jesus going and teaching the whole village how to fish, and so that must mean that he advocated for eating fish, So there's some Christians, they don't eat other meat, they only eat fish because of this instance.
And
in the
also you
Bible.
have to keep in mind that they were in a desert, so it may
That's
have
the
been
point.
hard to grow
That's
things.
the point. You can make this argument, but according to that time, place, and circumstance, maybe they did have to eat meat in order to survive. They're living in the desert, they can't grow all these plants, they didn't have imports coming from all the other countries.
They killed goats themselves.
What's your excuse? What's your excuse? You're living in the middle of the city, you just go down to, Trader Joe's and you can literally get all sorts of different vegetarian foods there. What's your excuse?
What if you have that belief, but you accidentally still do? Because I know in like Hindi, don't you? If you say you eat pork, don't you have to like eat the whole pig?
I've never heard that.
That's what I heard.
I've never heard
Like,
that.
say you
In
eat-
Hindi?
say-
What do you mean?
Like, or I think Muslim.
Oh.
If you
Probably Muslim.
yeah, if you eat a pork, you have to eat the whole pig. 'Cause
What
it's
if you
like
make a
form
mis-
of-
if you
because
make a
it's form
mistake of
life.
eating?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I don't know so much.
Well, if I smoke part of a cigarette, I'll just finish the cigarette. This is gonna make my lungs worse if I smoke the whole cigarette.
Yeah.
That logically doesn't make any sense. Like I've done a little bit. I might as well do it all the way.
Yeah,
all it
that
does is
sounds-
further implicate you into things that
Inevitably,
are harmful
in
for
modern
yourself.
life, there's certain things which we can't avoid. Like, there's been so many times we go on the streets, people are smoking weed there, we inhale a little bit of weed. It's one of our principles not to smoke weed, We can't just, like, freak out and think, oh my god, am I gonna go to hell? I just inhaled a little bit of that guy's weed. It's like, yeah, stuff happens. We're in the material world. We're not fanatics. We're accepting these principles because they're favorable to our spiritual life. If we are thinking that this is the goal of life, to be a vegetarian, to not smoke weed, to not have sex outside of marriage, if we think that that's the goal of life, then we're just missing the whole point, These are kind of prerequisites that help us in our spiritual path, but this isn't the goal in and of itself. We're not fanatical about these things, and we understand people make mistakes. Some things are hard to avoid.
Mhm.
We have addictions, we have so many bad habits. It takes time to transcend these things. We understand these things, but still, we don't compromise. We don't say, oh, you grew up eating cows, yeah, you just keep going, but just don't do it so much. No, stop, Now that you have the knowledge where you're not supposed to do it, if you continue to do it, you're just a rascal, Okay, you still like how it tastes and everything like that. You can't philosophically explain to me why you should continue to do it. I'll smash you like anything. Okay, if you want to continue to do it, it's not like we're going to force you not to eat meat, come and pry it out of your mouth or something like that. You have that independent choice. But when you become educated enough to understand that this is actually not for my own well-being. This is not actually good for me or for anyone. Why would you continue to do it? You don't have any real philosophy behind it. You're just doing it for the sake of your own satisfaction.
And
It's the
sometimes
most selfish thing.
maybe we want to do it, but maybe there's something that we know we're not supposed to do, but we're almost forced to do it. We can't even control it. Like, we want to stop, but we just can't. And that's due to not being able to control the senses. We're almost being forced. So it can almost be kind of hard to stop doing these things when you're alone. Like maybe someone's trying to quit sex, or quit pornography, or quit drugs, and alone, so many people are trying, but it's so hard. But you have to associate with people who have good habits if you want to yourself develop good habits. Otherwise, it will be very hard on your own.
It's like you might completely know all of these things. Like I'm saying, you might know it's not good to eat meat, it's not good to watch porn, it's not good to smoke weed. You know, but still there's like something inside of you. It's like you just can't help but do it. And it's like addiction. Krishna actually explains this to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He asked Krishna this directly. How do we understand this? I know that I'm not supposed to do it, still I do it. What's the solution to this? One thing that's for sure, having good association, living in the association with people who are already following that, and they don't have that problem anymore, just by being with them, naturally you can, because like here, there's no question of like accidentally eating meat, it's like it just won't happen, because all we eat is what we cook here every single day. We don't eat anything from outside, only what we cook here. So there's no question we're not going to accidentally eat some meat, or we're not going to, and we always have enough food to where we're not out in the street thinking like, oh, I could really go for like a burger right now, So naturally living in that situation is very good, but actually that's the most important thing. But on top of that, developing your intelligence, developing your knowledge. This is the answer that Krishna gives Arjuna actually. Controlling the senses with the sword of knowledge actually. This is what's going to help you transcend all of these things. You might philosophically understand. There's two different levels of knowledge, jnana and vijnana. Jnana just means like philosophically understanding. Okay, meat eating is bad, I shouldn't do it. Vijnana means realizing that. Is when you actually have some real like realization.
It's like understanding.
Yeah, fully.
Wu-Tang talks about that too. That is so crazy.
The people listen to a lot of Wu-Tang up here in Boston.
crazy,
Wu-Tang.
No, I'm talking. I had to read their book to find that out. Well, you could listen to their songs, but if you listen, you're not really listening. You know what I mean?
No, but reading these books, and like I said, chanting Hare Krishna, one of the symptoms which naturally comes by chanting Hare Krishna is causeless knowledge. Knowledge just kind of like uploads. It's like you don't even know where it's coming from. Spiritual knowledge comes naturally for one who is actually endeavoring in this path. It's not that you have to separately endeavor. So just by chanting Hare Krishna, you start to lose the desire for all of these very low energy activities like eating meat, intoxication. You start to just kind of lose your taste for it, and you start to have some practical realization. Oh, look, this person is suffering because they're doing like that. I'm suffering because I'm doing like this. You start to actually see the way for like, you start to see things for how they actually are. It's inconceivable. Scientists, they would say that this is just some kind of, what do they call that?
Mental hallucination.
Material.
What do they call that?
Psychology?
When you the sugar pills type of thing. Placebo. Oh, it's just a placebo effect. I'm prescribing this power to this mantra, but in actuality, this is just another set of different syllables, and it's just as powerful as saying Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Science, you can say these things, but if you're a real scientist, if you actually want to follow the scientific process, then do it. Prove me wrong. I guarantee you that if you follow this, if you simply chant Hare Krishna and you follow the basic teachings of these things, the natural result will be there. You get purified, your knowledge increases, your purity, all things come. There's so many benefits to this. It's guaranteed because it's a scientific process actually. You don't have to believe it. It's just like whenever there's a small child, the fire is still hot for a baby who doesn't know what fire is. If a baby touches fire, they'll still get burned. Same thing as like a person who knows that fire is hot, they'll also get burned. It's not up to your intelligence, your knowledge. It's not up to us to decide whether or not this works. It's just like fire. It just does. It's just like fire. It'll burn anything.
So what were you guys doing before you became monks?
I was in college.
I was like, I had like graduated in high school. 2 years later, I was just like working a job or whatever, and like, you know, being a regular dude. And then
Living in Atlanta.
living in Atlanta. 2 years later, that's when I got introduced to it.
I told you I was smoking weed playing video
How does your
No,
family
but
feel about it?
but I mean that's a big question because we've had so many previous lives too. You know?
I mean, like in this life, yeah.
I was
well,
a
yeah,
dog,
that's
I
a
was
good
a
question.
cat, you know, like we were doing so much nonsense. Even if in this life we were, you know, it's like, oh, I was a PhD in Harvard and I had, you know, like so much money. Like, who the hell cares?
Well, I'm just interested in like
Life
how you
after
came
life.
to know to like become
Yeah, yeah.
like I just met these two and
Ultimately-
you know, y'all came up to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was
Ultimately,
like-
the way that all of us, we all have the same experience. The way that we come to this is simply by Krishna's mercy, the mercy of God. There's nothing else which can explain it. There's no material thing. We know somebody who literally murdered somebody when he was 15 years old. He was in prison for years and years and years and years. Somebody in prison gave him one of these books. He got these books and then he started chanting Hare Krishna and he became a devotee of Krishna. That's not that we go and tell people, you should murder people when you're 15 years old so that you can come to Krishna once you're in prison. No. That's how he came to Krishna consciousness, but that's not how we teach people to come to Krishna consciousness, you know? People come in many different ways. So it's not that you have to first get addicted to smoking weed.
Some people are materially
It's
successful.
not-
Some people come from rich we have no monks who come from very wealthy
Like
family
the
backgrounds.
grandson of Ford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like one person
Henry
follows this
Ford.
is the great grandson of Henry Ford of this Ford Motor Companies.
Yeah.
He's
You
also
can-
a Hare Krishna.
Poor people come from
Yeah.
prison,
Yeah.
but the point
George
is
Harrison is-
real spiritual process. Essentially, it's effective regardless of time, place, or circumstance. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, where your background is. There's no qualification to be a servant of God other than the willingness and sincere desire to serve Him. You understand? So, in actuality, what's amazing is this movement is specifically meant for those who are even the most sinful.
Yeah.
So you can say that your disqualification is actually a qualification. The more sinful you are, the more qualified you are to get the mercy of the Lord, because the Lord comes to pick up even the most fallen, and that shows the efficacy of the spiritual process.
One of the names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavana, which means that he uplifts the most fallen. He's known for being very merciful to the most fallen people. Some people are very puffed up because they think they're very spiritually advanced. They're very like intelligent, very philosophical. Those people actually can't get the mercy as easy as somebody who's just like, I don't know anything, man. Like, to be honest with you, I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing here. All I know is that I'm suffering and I keep making mistakes and I need some help. You know, like that's the actual mood that we actually have to approach God with. And then He'll be very easy. It'll be very easy. He'll give His mercy very easily. But if we're already thinking, oh, I already know everything. I already read the Bible. I'm
People
from,
like
I'm
this
from a
every day.
family. I'm from a family where we literally know we meet Indian people all the time. Krishna, I know Krishna.
The
My
most stubborn.
name is literally Krishna.
They're the most stubborn.
You know, it's like, no, my dad, he donates to one temple in India. You know, my brother's name is Krishna. Like,
Yeah, my
name is
brother is
Govinda.
Krishna, bro.
So like, I don't need your books, and I definitely don't need to give my life to Krishna. You know, I don't need to become a monk. I don't need to do any. Definitely not. I definitely don't need to give you any donations. I don't want anything. But then you meet some random homeless guy who will literally give you his last $5 just because he's
Yeah.
like, "What you got, man? Like, oh,
They
books
leave you
look
the
good.
last penny.
I've been really wanting to read something, man. I'm suffering out here. Like, can I get one?" And then I've seen it happen so many times. It's happened to me so many times.
Therefore, there's this verse in Bhagavad Gita that says, Chatur vidha bhajante mam jana surkritano arjuna. So basically, there's 4 kinds of people that come to God. There's one who's experiencing distress, one who's is inquisitive, one who's in search of knowledge, and one who's after wealth or material gain. So the point being is that out of all these, usually people are distressed, and these different material assets such as beauty, intelligence, wealth, like aristocratic background, these things are stumbling blocks for spiritual life. And so often for people with these kind of, you could say, good karma, it keeps them from accessing the mercy of the Lord, because they actually think they're happy. They think that, you know, they're beautiful.
So do you guys work out or no?
We do like
Or that's-
general things for the body, like
Some
just
stretches.
we do enough to keep the body fit to do our service, but we don't get over absorbed in the body because then that just leads to attraction of the body. Oh, I'm starting to get a six pack, like I'm look good. You know, we don't like, you know, it's actually when you get a little too much in the body, this is what happens. But we do yoga for the body, push-ups, whatever, sit-ups, whatever you need for your shoulders, and you do your service, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to look like, you know, Tom Cruise or Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, we're serving God. You know?
It's a pretty naturally healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, everything we do is
health
healthy.
food and just, yeah, everything.
Tell me when.
That's good. I don't want to take too much. So what is it?
That's good. Thank you.
It's just rice, carrots, and cabbage. I went almost 2 years practicing this when I was in college without telling my family like at all. I had these books and I would like hide them in my room. I had my beads. I would never talk about it. They're like really Christian, like Southern Baptist. I'm from North Carolina. And whenever it finally came out, it was like, I basically, what happened, I went to my college where I was living. I moved all of my stuff out of there. I donated it to like a thrift store. And I drove back down where my parents' house was. I was like, hey guys, like, I'm actually like dropping out of college and I'm gonna go move into a monastery. And they're like, what? Like, it was like news to them, you know? So like, I don't recommend that. At least like now from the very beginning, she knows what's going on. It was like,
Yeah.
but still, it was like, now she's actually pretty favorable. I talked to her a lot and she's like,
That's nice.
yeah. I can understand why it'd be like kind of like weird. Even like my old friends, a lot of the friends that I used to like hang out with and stuff, like I don't really talk to them anymore because they never really understood like what I was doing or anything.
I think people see monk and they get like off put. They're like, oh, like they, you know what I mean?
They like the idea of it, but then whenever the monk says, hey, why don't you do this too? Then they're like, oh god.
I couldn't.
You know.
And also, they don't really know what it means to be a monk. So it's like foreign a little bit. They don't really understand it completely.
Do we read this with everyone?
Oh,
It's up to
my
you.
bad.
We have some
Give
fun.
us some spoons.
Oh,
bro.
sorry,
You
dude.
don't
Sorry, dude.
have spoons?
Sorry about
Did you
that.
check in that black thing? bro?
Yeah.
There's no spoons in
Sorry.
Only four.
Very good, bro. Let's see what
I use my hands.
I didn't know that was
Look, I was thinking about it, but I was like,
I'll be honest, if you want the full experience,
But there was no, all we had is fork.
we don't have any spoons.
I don't use spoons.
I'll say there's a whole
You
country
don't
called
use
India,
spoons?
and none of them use. They like
Why?
they eat with their hand.
I just never use, bro. I'm just good. I'm skilled with the fork. I don't need.
You want a fork?
You want a fork?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll take the fork.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, they're not taking nothing. They don't have nothing in their hand. I was
Yeah,
like,
I'm
"Shut
like,
up."
I just gotta eat yet,
No, in India it's just normal. You just serve like this. And
That's what I thought. You were trying to make us immerse.
I used to eat with my
With the fork,
fingers.
it's up-
But
it's
I
like
got
a
like
black
eczema on
thing
my
on
hand,
top.
so I like to use the
Yeah.
spoon.
You guys like what the hell?
Have some food. I was like, they're doing nothing.
What's in these cookies? It's sugar cookies.
Yeah, it's sugar. Is it okay?
It's good. It's good. Very good. So do you guys enjoy living together?
Yeah,
Most of them.
Most of the
yeah, sometimes a little picking here and there, but that's what's gonna
We're not
happen.
perfect.
Yeah. But I tell you what, it's nice knowing you're around people that aren't like trying to exploit you. You know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's like this guy's here, and he's he's helping me, or I'm, because he just wants to help me, and the guy actually cares about me.
Did you still want to watch that video?
Of course.
You can watch it. Oh, you gonna show him
Yeah.
the big one?
Yeah, the big one. Might as well. It's like, look,
Yeah, we'll show him. We
That's
might as
what
well.
we
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah. I'll use the bathroom real quick.
it's about he's into film basically. So he wanted to like,
Show one of
about
Ali's
about,
Ali
like-
Krishna Prabhu's
yeah.
videos.
So here's my take from the video, because a lot of this is just like, this is the experience. I don't really want to cut it, because this is what happened. This is what occurred. There was some chanting that occurred, definitely. Maybe I'll put that at the end. Maybe you've already heard it, or maybe you will hear it after this. But my takeaway from this is, let's go to where we can see the faces. And maybe the monks will see this video, and they'll agree or disagree, or whatever. But these guys are cool. This guy, he was just interested in talking at us. for whatever reason it is, I'm not going to try to find out what the reason is, because I think that's a waste of time. But the reason I came here is because this monk, me and him had a very good conversation. It was man to man, and it was real life. Like, we are just two guys just trying to figure out with the same questions. We're two guys with the same questions that are very deep questions, you know? And it's like, it's very good to talk with somebody who's in the same headspace, right? This guy, Abi. So we get there, and I go there because my intention is to ask questions to him, right? And you know, to converse with him and get his thoughts on things and what he's been educated on, because he's now devoting his life, his current life, to this. So I would assume he's pretty knowledgeable, even though he's at a young age. You know, I want to see where his mind is at. So we go there, and then this guy's here, and he ends up taking the whole show. But the way that he's talking to us in retrospect, right, after a week of thinking about it, or I guess 4 days of reflecting on it, he was talking to us like he was trying to teach us, you know, like he was trying to tell us things that we didn't know. There's a lot of things that I knew about this, and maybe you see it here. I don't know if the camera died during certain parts of it, but he's mentioning James, the Bhagavad Gita. He's talking about the reincarnation. You know, like there's certain things that I already know. I'm already familiar with the very baseline things, with the foundational type of things, you know. So in reflection, I wish that I was more adamant about saying, hey, I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from Abi. I want to ask questions, because Abi is going to hear my questions. But this guy, his cadence of speech was so perfect tempo that it didn't even allow intrusion of question, right? So in reflection, that's what I would have done different. So this was, we put infiltration as a title because I think it's funny, and I think it was an infiltration, because I don't know if I'm going to become a devotee. I'm probably like 100% not going to become a devotee. But yeah, it was more of like a yap session, just to put it very bluntly. Yap session. No if offense intended, but just talking too much. Another thought I have is if you're gonna be a spiritual, you know, whatever, you gotta learn to not do so much of this, you know. Whole time. My boy over here, look. Dang, bro, he fell asleep at one point. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bruh. So that's a very, for anybody out there trying to start a cult, that's a very big turnoff. Don't do that. Okay? Do not do that. Well, actually, if you find a lost person, do this. Do this if you find a lost person, because that's how you're gonna get them in the cult. That's how you're gonna get blind sheep followers. Okay? But yeah, I think the really wise thing would have been, hey, what's your intention when coming here? And nobody asked that question, so they had not in a weird way, but they had their way with us, you know? Like, oh, you're gonna come here, you're gonna eat our food, you're gonna partake in a chant, you're gonna listen to this guy talk at you for however long, you know? So maybe not an infiltration, but definitely a look into this, what these young men are doing, what they've been trained to do, a lot of stuff like that. It is pretty interesting. It is pretty interesting how this happens. And essentially, when I read their books, they're just taking the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Vedas, and they are just like basically interpreting those books and spreading one guy's interpretation of those books, essentially. So that's what their whole thing is, and it's similar to how, like, you have the Bible, and then you have Catholics taking their interpretation and applying it, the Jews taking their interpretation and applying it. It is just like that, essentially. Now, a lot of the things that they say at the base level are really good, but I think that there's certain things like you have to know the names of whatever spirit you're gonna chant. Like, that's something I really do regret. I wish I wasn't so easily what is it? Now, I don't want to say tricked, because I wasn't tricked, but persuaded into doing this chant with them just because I was there. You know what I mean? I wish I had more courage and bravery to be like, but no, I'm not going to chant that name. This is all lessons. Yeah, big lessons, definitely lessons. My journey, you're going to listen in the album, I reference Stephen Darby a lot, Dr. Ben Yosef a lot. There's a lot of spiritual people that I reference in the album. Even the songs, John P. Key, you know, samples. Rance Allen. It's very, very, very Christian. Very Christian. So coming from that background, that's what I really came here to do, is to, because, you know, you hear all the stories. I even have the book right here. Let me get the book. Let me show you all the book. You hear all the stories of Jesus disappearing in the Bible, in the New Testament. And it's like, oh, where did he go? People are like, he went to India. And he read up on the Indian scripts. You know, he read up on the Hindus. He read up with the Buddhists, you know. And then that's how he came to become even more spiritual than how he was begat already. You know, he realized his purpose, quote unquote. There was a documentary by a British documentary that was talking about that. I seen it on YouTube. But this book is the Holy Quran, more Science Holy Temple. This is more in the way of Hebrew Israelites. And Drew Ali wrote that Jesus did go over there. Now I don't know if this is true, right? But he did go over there. So my purpose of being with these guys, to tie this all back, is I wanted to compare and contrast and weigh what I have learned versus what these young men have learned, right? It's almost like critique. It's like when you go to art school, you draw with other artists who have learned different skills in different ways to do something, but claim they all want to get to the same place, right? These people, they want to get to the same place as heaven, right? Essentially. So how are they taught to do it, right? But what halted the inquisitive process, the curious process, from occurring, right, in a young man who's seeking real life truth, was somebody trying to prove something. That's what I believe. This young man, he has something to prove to somebody, to himself. Something's going on with him. By talking as much as he did, and the things about how and his such devotion to it, something. And that something is not just I'm doing this from the good of my heart. This is a level of devotion that is not even, it's not natural. It's not real. Do you know what I mean? You could tell when something is real and when something's not real. And I tell you with full honesty and with full transparency that this man, Abi and Tapa, these two are young men who are really trying to find out, find out the truth, or they're trying to find something, you know. But this guy, he's I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. I think I expressed myself properly. But yeah, that's the context. That's my recollection of this event. They had really nice food. We were able to laugh at the end. You could see, you know, we were telling stories and everything. And yeah, I tried to get as much information out of them as I could. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go back because they're gonna move or something. But I don't know. I really don't know.